Please call the roll.
Mrs. Davis,
Here.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Here.
Mrs. Ingles, Mr. Marshall,
Here.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Here.
Mr. Ryan,
Here.
Mr. Soms,
Here.
Mr. Washington.
Here.
7 here, 1 absent.
This time I'll entertain a motion for the appointment of a town councillor.
This is Councilor Soms. I move to appoint a new member to the town council to fill a vacancy left by Councilor Tony Sabilia in accordance with Chapter 2, Section 10 of the town charter.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Bill, you have to name the person.
Oh, so the person is
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
abstained.
Mr. Washington,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 abstention.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Hillary. You can enter any of the discussions this evening, but you will not be able to vote until you get sworn in. You can do that at Town Hall in the town clerk's office.
Understand.
Moving on in the agenda, we have no presentations. Do any residents and property owners wish to speak at this time? Hearing none. I don't see any committee, commission, or board reports. Are there comments of town councilors? John?
Good evening, everybody. A couple years back, I was reading an article on how this guy came up with a system of color coding the airlines on the back of 18-wheeler pickup or 18-wheeler rigs for safety reasons. I thought it was fascinating. Well, imagine my surprise when I found out that he doesn't live in Ledyard, but his daughter does, and she's friends with my wife. And I just thought that was a fascinating thing. And now it's a nationwide safety protocol. And this guy just came up with this idea out of necessity, and that his daughter lives here in town. This has nothing to do with anything, but you never really know who your neighbors are. I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Any other comments from town councilors? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Let's see, let's do the meeting minutes. Oh, the 23rd, all the meeting minutes on the 23rd.
So moved, Councilor Dombrowski.
Motion's made by Councilor Dombrowski, seconded by Councilor Ryan. Any corrections, additions? Roxanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mr. Washington,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. You have your communications list. And we'll remind everybody that the communications, members of the public communications are available on our portal for anyone to view. I had no referrals. And let's move on to subcommittee and liaison reports. Admin.
The administration committee had a special meeting on July the 21st. We made 2 appointments, which are on tonight's agenda. And we also discussed smoking cannabis on public property. Councilor Davis had asked us to look into coming up with some kind of an ordinance. And because the general statutes already prohibited smoking of tobacco and cannabis, it was not necessary to create local rules or laws regarding smoking of cannabis in public facilities. So we decided not to do anything. Also, one of the things in reading over the literature, there is supposed to be signs outside of a building that prohibits smoking, whether it's cigarettes or cannabis. And I don't know if we are current on that, if the town is in compliance with that. Otherwise, and that's it for admin.
Okay, thank you for the work on that. I know there was a lot of research done. And also I will forward the question about signs on to the mayor since he's not here this evening.
Okay, good.
Any questions for admin? Community relations?
We did not meet.
I know you have some sessions coming up.
Yes. We're waiting for some confirmation from the Public Works to do a public informational. And a lot of the holidays have been making kind of quirky in the month of July and early August to get everybody together.
Any questions for community relations? Finance.
Finance had its regular meeting on Wednesday, July 21st at 5 p.m. by video conference. The finance director reported that expenditures are on track as of May 31st, 2021. The final reconciliation of fiscal 2021 revenue and expenditures is underway, and we expect a final report for the fiscal year ending June 30th at our September 1st meeting. Committee also discussed recently received guidelines regarding the American Rescue Plan Act funding, ARPA, or other potential sources of funding to help with the Lantern Hill Road Bridge replacement. To date, it appears that replacing a bridge is not allowable, at least under ARPA funding, although there was some mention in the documentation of road maintenance. Some of the things the town can't do with the $4.4 million it's going to receive include adding to net tax revenue to reduce taxes. We can't make extraordinary payments to the pension fund, and we can't deposit the money in the undesignated fund. Those are just some of the things. Legitimate uses of funds include the following requests that the town has received or is aware of to date. COG would like to add an additional planning, that's the Council of Governments, and that would cost $7,100 per year for 4 years. The Southeast Connecticut Culture and Arts Coalition has asked for a 1% allotment of the funds we receive, which would amount to $21,000. We believe we could use $30,000 of the funds for the lead abatement project that's now complete at the Nathan Lester House. We're still waiting to see what's going to happen with the sewer line at Ledyard Center as far as cost and feasibility, but that does apply. In other words, we could use it. And we could also use it for water mains. And we've had 3 requests for water mains, 1 extending Route 117 north, 2 extending the main on Oak Ridge Drive to 3 homes. We're waiting on cost estimates for both of those. Actually, the extending 117 north is, I think it's 1.4 million, but I'll have a different report on that. We're also, as the result of an interconnection agreement with multiple water companies, there are plans to extend the Route 12 main over the Pocatonic Cove Bridge to interconnect with Norwich Public Utilities, and our cost would be 50% of 1.45 million. And then we also discussed the possible replenishment of the Housing Rehabilitation Fund, which is something that has not been replenished this year by the normal channels. So we're just keeping a list of the requests. We don't have to make a decision right away. And when the mayor gets back, I think we'll touch base with him and compare notes. The committee also continued discussing discussing the long-term plan for fire apparatus and replacement with the Director of Emergency Services, Steve Holyfield. As background from the last meeting, I'll try and make this short. The frame rails on one of our engines are rusting. That was not anticipated. That unit has to be replaced. We'd like to get a tanker for Ledyard Fire Company. And I got news today about frame rails rusting on the rescue truck at Gales Ferry. So we're continuing those discussions. We discussed events with Mr. Holyfield that might change the long-term plan. And we agreed with his suggestion, the plan should be reviewed every year, not just at budget time, but mid-year to maintain our familiarity with the plan and any changes that might occur. Topics discussed include what other things could be done with the existing equipment, stability in the fire department leadership. Not that there isn't, but those are, if we see a change in chiefs, it could affect the plan and their preference for equipment. And also unforeseen issues like the rescue truck in Gales Ferry we learned about today. We also discussed other financing options such as leasing at 0% interest. And Mr. Holyfield has invited all interested councilors to visit both stations. And the committee agreed that setting up a meeting to organize that would be a good idea. So we'll be working on that in September and inviting all councilors to both fire stations. Everything else is on a report for tonight. Thank you.
And Bill, you are going to amend the agenda this evening as far as the recommendation to the Permanent Building Committee.
That is correct. Yes.
Thank you. And we'll get more details on that.
Yeah. Thank you for the reminder.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Psalms? Hearing none, land use?
Land use has not met. We have really no report. The only thing I would like to report is I'm not sure if I just found out this today that Kyle Felice, our zoning enforcement officer, has submitted his resignation.
Ew. I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Kevin? I did not hear you.
Oh, Kyle Felice, our zoning enforcement officer, has submitted his resignation.
Okay,
That was the report I got today. Then also because of that, and with our new planner coming up to speed, we've decided we have nothing new on our agenda. We've decided to cancel the meeting for next month as well.
okay, thank you. Thank you, Kevin. At this time, liaison reports, please. If you raise your hand, Councilor McGrattan.
The Senior Commission met this afternoon. There is a vacancy. So if anybody knows anybody that's interested in serving on the Senior Commission, please let us know. The municipal agent is doing renter's rebate and will be doing that up until September. Ledyard is now part of the Senior Center CT.org website, along with other senior centers in southeastern Connecticut. It's a great way to promote the programs that they provide. LED lights have been installed in the large meeting room at the center, and they will save the town money because they will automatically adjust based on the amount of natural light in the room. And that's the report.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilor McGrattan? Any other liaison reports? Mr. Dombrowski.
The Agricultural Commission met last week. They're coming down with moving forward on the progress that they've made. They're looking at providing a report to the town council here soon, and also looking to probably provide an amended ordinance that established a committee to increase their roles and responsibilities for additional agricultural help, basically, to help the agricultural community. And that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Psalms, you had your hand up, I believe.
Yes, WPCA held its regular meeting last night at 7 p.m. Good news, hydrant flushing is complete as of June 28th. An RFP has been published for the demolition of the old Gallup Hill water tank, and one bid has been received to date. We haven't reached the deadline. We're hoping for more. And as I mentioned earlier, extending the Route 117 water main to the transfer station is estimated to cost $1.4 million. Extending the main to the transfer station would enable Public Works to have more reliable water source for washing down trucks after road treatment, and could potentially save some money in replacement costs. In addition, the main could serve a long proposed senior housing development on Church Hill. And if undertaken, the project could be a candidate for use of ARPA funding. A Route 12 water main extension over Pocatonic Cove, as I mentioned, is estimated to cost 1.45 million, and the project is part of a larger DPH-sponsored interconnect between all of the regional water companies. And we'd be splitting that 1.45 million with Norwich Public Utilities. There's been no further info on the request for a water line extension on Oak Ridge Drive. The Stewart study that is underway for Ledyard Center that should have been completed by the end of July is still not complete, so the WPCA will press Weston and Sampson for a date. They're also waiting for a tank inspection report for the Ledyard Center tank that requires climbing the tank and opening the hatch to inspect the interior. Groton Utilities is short 2 men, so that's been delayed a little bit, but they haven't forgotten. WPCA is seeking competitive bids to repair and or redesign the influent pump system as reported at the last meeting. At the wastewater treatment plant, they're still limping along on one pump. And on a related issue, the Public Works Director announced that last week that road resurfacing in the Christie Hill subdivision would be taking its place this summer. But he cautioned residents that frequent leaks and breaks in the water system there could cause ongoing repair work requiring excavation and patching in the newly paved streets. Residents on Facebook raised valid concerns about taxpayers incurring the cost to resurface roads only to have them dug up again. The water system involved is operated by the Southeastern Connecticut Water Authority and has experienced multiple breaks and failures in years past, and the town may want to consider sending correspondence to the Department of Public Health about this issue. The WPCA asked what standards contracts are required to follow when excavating and patching roads. And from a review of the town road ordinance 300-25, standards apply only to the construction of new roads. Groton Utilities reported that they follow Groton standards for patching and excavating and patching, but we don't know what standards SQUA follows. The Public Works Director suggested I take a ride on Barrett Drive, which I did this evening. He said that Barrett Park, I should say. Barrett Park was most recently paved in 2007, and you can see numerous patches in the street resulting from multiple excavations and repairs associated with water work. So that is a concern. I think the comments made on Facebook, at least the concerns, were quite valid. Finally, good news. This is incredible news. Past due receivables for WPCA dropped to $323, setting another record for the lowest amount ever. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions for Bill? John?
Yeah, Bill, just out of curiosity, a real simple question. Why do we flush water mains? Is it to keep all the valves working properly?
No, they exercise the valves periodically because if you don't, they freeze, they lock in place. But we flush the mains because silt settles at night when there's not much water movement. So any silt carried in the water settles to the bottom of the main. And if you don't regularly flush, that silt actually impedes water supply and water pressure. And when you finally do flush, you really have a problem. So we do it once a year. It's unpopular. Everybody hates it. We hate dumping water in the street because we pay for that. But if you don't do it, the problem is worse.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just really quick, Bill, I want to just make a comment on that, on the flushing the mains. One of the construction projects they had one of the towns had not flushed one of their mains for an extended length of time. And when they did go to flush it, all the residents got brown water like nobody's business.
Yep.
From that flushing that was needed. So yeah, the periodic flushing is really important.
Yeah, and there is every time we do it once a year, and when we do, there is always brown water. But you can imagine it would be more like mud if there were more silt at the bottom of those mains.
So true.
Thank you.
Bill, I would like to refer the issue of the road repair to land use, because I really think we need to follow up on this, whether we need to write a new repair ordinance. But this is certainly something that's problematic, and we're spending good money on road repairs and they're not helping us out much.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think at the very least, it deserves a discussion.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you. Okay, other liaison reports?
The Inland Wetland Commission, excuse me, sorry, I can't put my hand up. I failed to do that. This is Councilor Washington. The Inland Wetland Commission met July 13th for a special meeting. It was actually taking a conservation subdivision for a 4-lot subdivision that's going to come into town. And for those who don't know, a conservation subdivision allows for a denser, smaller lots and more open space, which is good for the town. That's my report. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Marshall?
No questions, just a report. The building committee had a special meeting on the 13th. Nothing really new. We're still chasing water leaks. We got cracks in the sidewalks we're looking into, still got a crooked flagpole. Nothing really new to report there. Some missing molding in the teachers' rooms. Problems with some window sills pulling away. There's only one window sill that's pulling away. But the punch list at the middle school is down to like 3 items. We got about 38 items on the punch list at Gallop Hill. But it's getting down. We have discussed holding money back from O&G, but we really can't do that because some contractors have completed their work and those guys should be paid. And once we cut O&G a check, we have no control over what they do with their money. They're just a lousy contractor with a superintendent that's in over his head. He just did a horrible job, and I make no secret about that. The fence and the scoreboard is with finance. I believe Bill might speak to that a little bit later on in the meeting. One of the residents wrote in correspondence wanting to know about certain things that haven't been taken care of or where things are at. And I can address a couple of them. One of them is the the hard hat that was glued to the ceiling. Well, that was taken down months ago, but he was very upset about it. The hard hat's been gone for months, and the only explanation I have for that is when you get a bunch of guys together in the same room, the maturity level goes down, and no one can really argue that. Things like that happen often. It's not that big a deal, but anyway, it's behind us now. The other big guy, more serious item is the heating and cooling issues. These systems have gotten so complicated that they've almost outrun the people that set them up and balance them. They've almost outdistanced their ability to get them working right. They've become that complicated. With that being said, we're looking to doing that at the Gales Ferry School this summer, and hopefully we don't have the same issues. And we're definitely not going to use the same contractor. The other issues, we're working on them. Over the years, if I don't talk about these things a lot, it's because over the years I've been working construction, and what happens behind the fence stays behind the fence. So we really don't, I'm not used to bringing these things out in the open if it's bad news, because no one wants to hear it. And no one wants to hear it again, again, again. But we are working on it. We are making progress, and it'll be over someday. And that is my report.
Any questions for Mr. Marshall? Mr. Songs?
I just wanted to comment, Mr. Marshall, the track and field fence and the scoreboard were discussed with finance. We did not vote, but we gave our opinion about whether those projects should be undertaken with surplus funds. I thought we had a pretty clear answer that we did not think that was appropriate because they weren't in the capital plan. But finance will take that up again at its September 1st meeting and officially formally vote on whether to approve those projects or not.
Okay, I was just curious. It was brought up at the September the 13th meeting, and we just didn't know what the answer was. That's all.
Yeah, apparently some folks are still thinking it might be happening. So I think we need to have a discussion and vote.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Marshall? Any other liaison reports? I would just mention that the farmers market ran out of parking tonight. I guess a good problem. The good news is people come in and people go out, but it was a full house tonight. I think nice weather helped, but it's certainly a resounding success and continues to be. The mayor did send in a report It is in the, it is going to be put in correspondence so the public can see it as well as in our minutes. Is that correct, Roxanne? Is that what we can do? Okay, and then I would just mention, because I'm guessing, well, no, the mayor, mayor was out of town, I believe. I would then like to extend a thank you to all of our volunteers that rescued the young family on Lantern Hill a few days ago. That was certainly a bad timing in that it happened as it was getting dark. So kudos to all of them, including the North Stonington volunteers. Let's see, old business. We have no old business. Would anyone like to amend the agenda under new business?
Councilor Songs would like to amend the agenda to add the following. I move to refer, well, I forgot how to do this. The topic is referring building. Do I read the whole thing?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So the motion is to refer the following capital projects approved as part of the FY 2022 budget process to the Permanent Municipal Building Committee, Juliet Long School, Gales Ferry School, and Board of Education building roof replacements, Juliet Long School and Gales Ferry School solar installations, Juliet Long School HVAC upgrade, an electrical upgrade, and Gales Ferry School building management system upgrade. In addition, authorize the Permanent Municipal Building Committee to prepare the engineering designs, outline specifications, and obtain cost estimates for the projects as noted above, and authorize the Board of Education to file grant applications for the projects as noted above.
Is there a second, please?
Councilor
Second,
Dabrowski seconds.
Motion's been made and seconded. This is just to amend the agenda, and without exception, I would like to move it to item number 1, since Mr. Donaldson is here, and I hate to have him have to sit through the whole meeting. If that's okay with everybody, nod your heads. Thank you. Roxanne, would you call the roll to amend the agenda?
Mr. Washington,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
yes,
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms.
Yes.
7 in favor, 0 opposed.
So now we'll move to the new number 1.
This is Councilor Songs. I move to refer the following capital projects approved as part of the FY 2022 budget process to the Permanent Municipal Building Committee, Juliet Long School, Gales Ferry School, and Board of Education, building roof replacements, Juliet Long School and Gales Ferry School solar installations, Juliet Long School HVAC upgrade and electrical upgrade, and Gales Ferry School building management system upgrade. In addition, authorize the PMBC to prepare the engineering designs, outline specifications, and obtain cost estimates for the projects noted above, and authorize the Board of Education to file grant applications for the projects as noted above.
Is there a second?
Second,
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion, Bill.
So all of these items were approved in the capital plan. The Finance Committee reviewed them, discussed them with the Board of Education back in March. And when the town residents approved the budget, these projects all should receive funding and need to move forward. This is an administrative step to assign the projects to the Permanent Municipal Building Committee and also get the grant funding in order. In total there, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's roughly $5 million of capital improvement, and about $3 million of that is coming from grants, and the rest is coming from bonding. So we also need to file bond documents as well.
Are there any questions? Understanding that this was approved in our capital plan during the budget season. So, people say that sometimes, things are done in the shadow of night. This has been previously discussed during budget hearings. And so this should not be a surprise.
I should have explained a little bit more about that, Chairman Davis. The school roofs are at the end of their life. They're more than 20 years old. we've been patching and fixing and maintaining and repairing for years now. So we are actually past their useful life. And we like to put solar panels up at the same time when we do roofs. Some of the other projects, the smaller dollar items, are associated with the solar panel project itself. And then there are just some, like the building management system. We just can't get parts for it. It's past manufacturer support. So sometimes we just have to replace things. So as mentioned, all of these items were in the capital plan. As Chairman Davis mentioned, they've been brought up many times before.
Thank you. Any other questions? Roxanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
yes,
Mr. Soms,
Yes,
Mr. Washington,
yes,
7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. We will forward this immediately to the building committee. They could look it over and see what pieces of it they feel they should handle, and we will move forward from there. We're now moving to what is now number 2 under admin. Mary,
Okay, I make a motion to appoint Paula Crocker, unaffiliated, 1500 Route 12, Gales Ferry, to the Housing Authority to complete a 5-year term ending March 23rd, 2023, filling a vacancy left by Ms. Boyd.
Second.
any discussion?
Mrs. Crocker asked to be on the Housing Authority, and she's also the secretary of the Senior Commission, so she's quite involved with the
Okay.
seniors.
Now, with Hillary having to resign, does that mean there's one opening, or is there
Yeah.
now? There will
That
just
means
be
there will
one
be
opening.
another,
Okay,
right.
thank you. Roxanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
yes,
Mr. Soms,
yes,
Mr. Washington,
yes,
Mrs. Davis,
Yes,
7 in favor, 0 opposed.
motion carries. Next item.
I make a motion to appoint Stephen Munger, Republican, 12 Nutmeg Drive, Gales Ferry, to the Permanent Municipal Building Committee as one of the Board of Education temporary member representatives to fill a vacancy left by Mr. Guerra in accordance with ordinance number 100-015 and ordinance establishing a permanent municipal building committee for the town of Ledyard.
Second.
Second, please. This vacancy has been vacant for quite a while because Mr. Guerrera hasn't been on the Board of Education for, I'd say, almost a year.
Oh.
So good to get this position filled. Roxanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
yes,
Mr. Soms,
yes,
Mr. Washington,
yes,
Mrs. Davis,
Yes,
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
7 in favor, 0 opposed.
motion carries. Next item, Mr. Psalms, Finance.
I move to authorize the Board of Education to increase the appropriation from account 210-70101-58261 BOE CNR Ag Sci by $9,985 for the installation of the air conditioning system in the Ag Science classrooms at Ledyard High School. In addition, grant a bid waiver in the amount of up to $36,485 to BT Lindsay and Company, Inc. of West Hartford for the installation of the air conditioning system in the Ag Science classrooms at Ledyard High School due to not receiving the required bids in accordance with ordinance 200-001 and ordinance for purchasing.
second, Councilor Washington,
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
So this project was to retrofit the air conditioning for the XIII wing, and we originally approved funding for it, but even though 2 contractors showed up for the walkthrough, and Mr. Donaldson reached out to multiple local contractors, we only received 1 bid. The reason the bid is higher is in part due to the fact that the cost of metal has gone up since the original estimates and then bids were obtained. I believe that the Board of Ed and Mr. Donaldson have done everything they can to bring this amount down, but according to our purchase ordinance, which says anything over $15,000, we, number one, have to get 3 competitive bids, and number 2, if we don't get 3 bids, we have to issue a bid waiver so that we can assign the bid to the winning bidder. So contractors are busy everywhere, as I think we all know. It's unfortunate, but I think we've done, and Mr. Donaldson and Board of Ed have done everything they can to manage this.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Soms? Hearing none, Roxanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mr. Washington,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall.
Yes.
7
in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next item.
I
Thank
move
you.
to,
Thank you.
oh, you're welcome. Thank you,
Oh,
Mr.
thank
Donaldson.
Yep.
Appreciate you coming.
No problem.
I move to approve additional appropriations from the receipt of FEMA funding for Storm Isaias in the total amount of $25,748. Doing it again, $25,748 as follows. $1,000 to emergency management new equipment CNR account 210-20701-57300. $12,374 to Public Works heavy equipment CNR account 210-40101-57311. $4,950 to Public Works large truck CNR account 210-40101-57312. $4,950 to Public Works small truck CNR account 210-40101-57313, and $2,474 to Public Works light equipment CNR account 210-40101-57314.
Second, please.
Councilor Nabrowski seconds.
Thank you.
So as you can see, our Public Works Director allocates his money very carefully, manages his budget very carefully. This is FEMA funding that we received from the storm, as mentioned in the motion, and he's appropriating the funds according to how he thinks they were spent and are needed.
Any discussion, questions? Roxanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mr. Washington,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan.
Yes.
7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next item.
I move to approve additional appropriations from the sales of surplus vehicles and equipment in the total amount of $18,532 as follows. $340 to Historic Districts Building Maintenance, CNR account 210-10103-54000. $5,127 to Police Vehicle CNR account 210-20101-57510. $1,665 to Public Works Pool Vehicle CNR account 210-40101-57315, and $11,400 to Public Works Large Truck CNR account 210-40101-57312.
Second.
So when we have surplus equipment, meaning it's reached its end of its useful life, the town has in the past asked people to submit sealed bids to purchase them. The mayor had an idea several years ago of using a website, which is, and I can't think of the name of it, but it's something.gov. Does anybody know that?
Yeah,
It's GovDeals. Govdeals.com.
Govdeals.com, that's it. So we actually get a much larger audience when we sell these things, and we get funding or payment for them much closer to what they're actually worth. So that was a good move by the mayor. It's been working very well. You'll notice that everything was equipment except for the historic districts, and that's because the historic district is selling some excess donations, antique equipment that they've received. They get a lot of donations and they actually run out of room in the buildings at the Nathan Lester House and the Sawmill to store them. So periodically they go through and find out what they can do without. So that's why they're getting some of the money.
any questions? Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mr. Psalm,
Yes,
Mr. Washington,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes,
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
yes,
Mr. Ryan,
yes,
7 in favor, 0 opposed.
motion carries. Next item.
I move to approve one tax refund in the amount of $6,004.16 that exceed the $2,400 in accordance with tax collector departmental procedures.
second,
This was to the Iglesia Fuente de Salvacion that we voted on previously. They had paid a tax bill that, and as a church, they're tax exempt. So we filed a resolution and wrote an ordinance to make them tax exempt and to waive the tax bill that they paid. So we are simply refunding this amount back to them.
Any questions? Roxanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Washington,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes,
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
yes,
Mr. Ryan,
yes,
Mr. Psalm,
Yes,
7 in favor, 0 opposed.
motion carries. Final item.
I move to authorize the treasurer to terminate bank services with Webster Bank and to transfer town accounts to Dime Bank.
second,
Motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Solms?
Thank you. So in the past, we have used Webster Bank for armored car services because Dime Bank did not offer armored car. Since we made that decision, Webster Bank, and also Webster Bank had some bank branches close by that we were able to use when we needed. Since that decision, they have closed the local branches, and the closest one is either Old Lyme or Old Saybrook. I forget. But basically, it's too far for a town employee to have to go. Customer service has been declining. The armored car service has failed to show up on a number of occasions. They failed to even call to say that they're not going to show up. And the original reason for having the armored car service was that the tax collector at the time did not feel comfortable taking money across the street to Dime Bank. The current tax collector is not so concerned about that. Plus, the problems we're having with Brinks makes it unfeasible anyway. We also have the option to, or the tax collector has the option to request police escort when they go to Dime Bank. And we've asked questions about their frequency and regularity, and there is absolutely no pattern to when they take account deposits over. So there's no concern among town employees where there once was, and we think this is a good move. Dime Bank, town already has accounts with Dime Bank, and we're very pleased with them. We like the service, and I think they're happy to have them. Councilor Ryan asked a question about whether there would be any costs associated with terminating services at Webster Bank. And the treasurer followed up with Webster Bank to check on that, and they assured us that there would not.
Any questions? Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Davis,
Yes,
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
yes,
Mr. Ryan,
yes,
Mr. Psalm,
Yes,
Mr. Washington,
Yes.
7 in favor, 0 opposed.
motion carries. Continuing our summer schedule, our next meeting is August 25th. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. This meeting is adjourned without exception. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Hi, everybody.